Part 43. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 422. The crystal piece glowed. Everyone immediately stared at the piece of scrap metal. Li Fan was also startled for a moment and said, "Bring it to my teacher and take a look." Wu Date offered it with both hands, and Li Fan picked up the iron piece. "Well, it's quite heavy to buy, and the texture is okay. It's a good piece of iron. And it looks like it is part of the sword body. The edges are obvious. It's just that the rust is too serious, and if you look closely, there seems to be some writing on the blade. Bring me the grindstone." Li Fan spoke immediately, and Gongya immediately went to get it. Li Fan used the magic stone to gently remove the rust. The rusted iron piece suddenly showed its edge again. Li Fan rubbed it carefully and found that the characters on the sword piece were not complete, and seemed to be half of the character Zhu. Is it the name of the sword? Generally speaking, the name of the sword will be engraved on the sword body. What sword is Zhu? Li Fan also had no way of knowing. He didn't notice that when he polished the sword piece, everyone's expressions changed drastically. They all felt an unparalleled sword intent coming from the iron piece. The sword intention is warm. It's sad. Just a ray of sword intent was released, but everyone seemed to see a lonely swordsman dying in sorrow. The sword's will is immortal, but his life has fallen. Among the many disciples, Du Guyuking suddenly looked shocked, and he looked at the sword piece in a daze. Because at this moment, the sword intent all over his body actually vaguely matched and resonated with the sword intent. A feeling of loneliness and desolation came to my mind inexplicably. "Why?" he muttered. At this moment, the branches of the peach tree swayed gently, an old hen raised her eyes and stopped pecking at the corn, and a koi stopped swimming. "Where did this thing come from?" Li Fan asked. Wu Date said, "I bought it at the market." The stall owner said it was brought out by a medicine farmer from the depths of the wilderness. "Master, so to speak, there are rare animals and plants deep in the wilderness." He was a little excited. Li Fan said, "Deep in the wilderness, the vast wilderness, where can I find it?" Wu Date pointed at the big black dog and said, "Master, don't worry. This dog has a good nose. He will definitely be able to find it by following the smell." This is what he smelled. When Li Fan heard this, he thought about it and said, "Yeah, that's fine. Let's have dinner first and we'll discuss this matter tomorrow." And Gongya has already put all the dishes on the table, and the tempting aroma can be heard. It's time to eat. Everyone sat down happily and started eating. Only Du Guyuking seemed to be in a state of despair. Muling Village. "Grandpa Village Chief, we met people from the Muling dynasty today." Mu Wanking told what happened in the market today. A solemn look flashed across Mu Rantian's face. It seems that the record is true. Muling Village once produced a peerless strong man who created a powerful dynasty in the outside world. There was a trace of bitterness on his face and he said, "It's just Muling Village, but it has been forgotten." He read through all the records of the clan. Many legends were once regarded as mere myths. But the words of worshipping the spirits made him re-examine those ancient texts. Thousands of years ago, the ancestors of Muling Village escaped from the depths of the wilderness and established Muling Village. According to records, those ancestors brought out many treasures. However, our ancestors have ancestral teachings, and everyone in Muling Village is not allowed to leave the wilderness. Let alone allow those things from the depths of the wilderness to appear in front of the world. However, later someone violated the ancestral precepts. After all, there is only decay and desolation in the wilderness. One of them took away what the ancestors left behind, leaving only some useless seeds. The vitality of Muling Village was severely damaged, and it became weaker and weaker from then on, almost being wiped out, until a grape was finally cultivated from that seed. That is the sacrificial spirit of their Muling village. Thousands of years have passed, and no one in the village mentions those past events. No one even believed it. Until today. Murantian let out a long sigh and said, "Hey, that's all, don't worry about it. It's past." An open, flat area. Surrounded by mountains. A rare stone city was built here. Crow Food Tribe. Outside the stone city, there are residential buildings scattered around, and there are powerful cultivators guarding the stone city. In the stone city, there is a tall stone palace. Rough, ancient. However, this stone palace is not for people to live in. Even the chief of the Crow Food Tribe, Crow Tongtian, could only live on the side of the stone palace. In the stone hall is the residence of the sacred crow, the sacrificial spirit of their crow-eating tribe. At this moment, in the main hall, a three-color lynx and an old tree root were kneeling on the ground. At the top of the empty stone hall, there is a huge stone throne. On top of the throne is a huge black crow. The black feathers all over the body of the black crow can be seen as shiny, and the crow's eyes are blood red, but there are actually a few white feathers on the crow's head. Just like human white hair. Report to the Crow King, the mission failed. The old grapes in Muling village are given a new lease of life. Moreover, on the way to the Crow Food Tribe, we encountered a terrifying black dog. If we guessed correctly, the black dog should be the backstage of Muling village. The three-color lynx opened his mouth and told the whole story. Above, the black crow is as silent as a statue. A black dog. The black crow made a rough sound and said, "Thousands of years ago, a god took action to explore this wilderness. Countless creatures and servants even opened the Suzaku ruins deep in the wilderness. But in the end, the god died, and very few creatures escaped from the wilderness. I am lucky enough not to die. Is that black dog also a survivor?" The Crow King thought. Muling village, was it also discovered? It had escaped from the depths of the wilderness and knew how evil that area was. And the old grape, should be a species brought out from the depths of the wilderness by several other survivors. Over the years, it has been recovering from its injuries and secretly paying attention to Muling village. In other villages, the sacrificial spirits will be distorted by the breath of the wilderness, becoming bloodthirsty, crazy, and sinister, and even it itself will not be immune. But the old grapes in Muling village have never been contaminated. This proved its conjecture that old grape could resist the evil power of the wilderness. Recently, it finally regained its strength, and it even received news from the Wood Spirit dynasty that some powerful beings wanted to explore the wilderness again. It just started making preparations. "Let the people from the Muling dynasty come to see me." The Crow King spoke. Soon, a girl in a green dress from the Muling dynasty walked up. It was Mu Manking. "Muling dynasty sent a girl like you to come here." The Crow King's words were somewhat unpleasant. Mu Manking shook her head and said, "Of course not." Mu Manking said word by word, "The army of the Muling dynasty is already outside the tribe. Now, outside the Crow Food Tribe, a team of people has appeared. At first glance, there were about 2,000 people in total. They were all elite warriors, and they were riding powerful iron-scaled war horses. Their light green armor shone brightly in the sunlight. In the team, a big flag fluttered in the wind. It was a giant green tree. The sacred wooden flag of the Muling dynasty. In front of the military formation, a middle-aged man was wearing a thick green cloak. His aura was strong and calm, and there was a hint of green in his eyes. Mu Jinglong, the uncle of the Muling dynasty, asks to see the Crow Food Tribe to worship the spirit. He spoke indifferently. The loud sound instantly spread throughout the entire Crow Food Tribe. Soon, the stone city of the Crow Food Tribe opened. Mu Jinglong led the troops of the Muling dynasty and slowly entered. After placing the troops, Mu Jinglong walked into the stone hall under the leadership of Yatong Tian, the chief of the Crow food tribe. "Uncle, you are here." Mu Manking came up to him and said. Mu Jinglong nodded calmly and said, "You girl, I asked you to wait for us, but you insisted on coming early. Where is Mugong?" Mu Manking's face changed slightly and said, "He was injured." Immediately, she quickly talked about what happened in the market. After listening, a hint of surprise suddenly flashed across Mu Jinglong's face. A big black dog. Furthermore, according to Man Qing's inquiries afterwards, those people seemed to be from a village called Muling Village. Mu Manking spoke in a low voice. Mu Jinglong's eyes suddenly froze. Muling Village. From the moment our ancestors stepped out of the wilderness and established the dynasty, we have nothing to do with the wilderness. The ancestral village has long since perished. He shook his head. "Hey, little guy, the old grapes from Muling Village are the seeds they brought out from the depths of the wilderness in the past. They can resist the evil forces of the wilderness." At this time, Old Crow continued to speak and said, "Without the old grape, entering it would increase the risk." However, Mu Jinglong looked at the old crow on the stone seat indifferently and said, "Back then, what our clan brought out from the depths of the wilderness were not just some spent grape seeds. This time, we have enough protection, you can rest assured of this." Hearing this, the old crow laughed loudly, its black feathers trembling like the wind, and said, "Very good, last question, this time, what level are the people behind you?" Mu Jinglong has a profound meaning. Enough to sweep across the entire wilderness. Your Excellency, you can safely lead the way. The most important reason why the Wood Spirit dynasty wanted to cooperate with the Crow food tribe was that Old Crow was the only one who was still alive among the creatures that escaped that year. Only with it to guide the way can we enter the wilderness better. Same day. Crow food tribe gathers all soldiers of the tribe. Together with the Muling dynasty, they headed towards the wilderness at the same time. When the news came out, everyone was shocked. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 423. The Crow food tribe and the Wood Spirit dynasty set out into the depths of the wilderness, attracting attention in this area. Are the Crow food tribe crazy? They actually want to go to the depths of the wilderness. There are rumors that the old crow escaped from the depths of the wilderness. If he goes in this time, what will happen in the depths of the wilderness? Even the dynasties from the outside world are here. I'm afraid there are great opportunities. For a time, there was heated discussion among all parties. Send troops. The opportunity in the depths of the wilderness cannot be missed. The Gailio tribe's soldiers and horses gathered. Follow me. As long as I can benefit from it, it will be enough for our village to enjoy endlessly. In a certain village, a group of young men were ready to go. The Crow food tribe is the largest force in this area, and with the arrival of the dynasty, this trend has attracted countless people to follow. After all, the depths of the wilderness are dangerous, but they also hide great opportunities. Now, in Muling village, after receiving the news, Murantian stood in front of the spirit sacrifice and thought for a long time. Now, he has almost determined that the Muling dynasty should be the same lineage that violated the ancestral precepts and left the wilderness with the things that the ancestors brought from the depths of the wilderness. Now they are back and heading towards the wilderness. The ancestral teachings say that descendants are not allowed to explore the wilderness, nor are they allowed to go out of the wilderness, let alone show the things in the wilderness to outsiders, otherwise there will be great disaster. He muttered. He even found this ancestral instruction more than once in the records. It is enough to show how afraid the ancestors were of the wilderness. What is hidden in the wilderness? The treasures brought out by the ancestors can allow future generations to create a peerless dynasty in the outside world, which shows that there are countless opportunities in the wilderness. However, the ancestors kept it secret. Your ancestors were right. At this time, the sacrificial spirit suddenly spoke and said, "You cannot enter the wilderness because too many are buried there. The wood burns and the sky freezes, the spirit sacrifice is a seed from the depths of the wilderness." "Master Spirit Sacrifice, what is there in the depths of the wilderness?" he asked. But the old vine just swayed its branches lightly and said, "I don't know. When I woke up, I was already here, in the wilderness. I only have a sliver of memory. It's like floating gold, and I can't see it clearly. I can't remember either." Murantian hesitated for a moment and said, "Should we go to the depths of the wilderness?" he asked curiously. The sacrificial spirit was silent for a long time and said, "Perhaps, you can ask that Senior Li. He is very strong, and his origins are even more complicated. Perhaps he knows a lot." Murantian nodded immediately. Immediately, he and Muwanking set off again. Shortly after, they had already arrived at the small mountain village and in front of Wuerxianting. "Is Senior Li here?" "Wonking and others are here to visit." Muwanking spoke. In the small courtyard, Li Fan had just finished doing exercises with a group of disciples. "Come in." Li Fan spoke. Muwanking and Murantian entered immediately. "Meet Senior Li." The two saluted. "No need to be polite. What important business do you two have here?" Li Fan asked. "Wood burning heavenly way. Senior Chi, we got a piece of news. The people from the Crow Food tribe and the Wood Spirit dynasty are heading towards the wilderness. They seem to be looking for something." When Wu Date heard this, he immediately said, "Master, these people are not looking for rare animals and plants, are they? When I bought this piece of iron, the people from the Muling dynasty wanted to steal it from me." Li Fan became a little anxious when he heard this. "It's very possible. No, you have to move faster on your own. Otherwise, it would be bad if rare animals and plants are snatched away by others. After all, I still hope to collect 9 kinds of rare animals and 9 kinds of rare plants and take a step forward on the path of spiritual practice as soon as possible." Every time he thinks about cultivation, Li Fan feels that life is gloomy. It's been a year and he's still at the first level of chi refining. Really, useless, too useless. With my scrap metal qualifications, I can't even think about making any great achievements in this life. I can only hope to complete the system's tasks as soon as possible and one day be able to reach the Golden Elixir Realm. The Golden Elixir Realm can fly. That is Li Fan's ultimate dream. "Dade, please take Dehei there." Li Fan spoke immediately. The big black dog has a sharp nose, and since Dade often wanders around outside, it should be safer. Wu Dade immediately said, "Okay, master." At this moment, Dugu Yuking stepped forward and said, "Master, junior brother Dade and I will go together." His eyes were filled with longing. When the piece of scrap metal appeared, he always had an inexplicable feeling, like familiarity or sentimentality. This emotion gave him an impulse. "Be sure to go find out." Li Fan also nodded and said, "Can." The two disciples were together, and there was someone to look after them on the way. With that said, Li Fan took out the iron piece and handed it to Dugu Yuking. Murantian and Muwanking were both shocked when they saw the iron piece. "This, Wanking, didn't you say this is a piece of rusted iron? Why do I feel like a peerless sword?" Murantian was shocked. Muwanking also had doubts on her face and said, "I don't know, maybe it's because of the senior." Murantian thought about it, only the senior could do such a thing. "Farewell, master." Wu Date and Dugu Yuking spoke. They left with the big black dog. Murantian and Muwanking also left the small mountain village with them. Embarking on the journey, Wu Date and the others headed towards the depths of the wilderness. They didn't know the path, but fortunately, the Crow Food tribe and the Wood Spirit dynasty were making a lot of noise and attracted attention. They followed the large group and walked very quickly. Before long, they had gradually caught up with the Crow Food tribe and the Wood Spirit dynasty. As we gradually go deeper into the wilderness, there seems to be a twisted and uneasy power in the surrounding air. It's upsetting. No wonder there are almost no cultivators in the depths of the wilderness. If you practice in this environment for a long time, you may become mentally disturbed. Duguyuking murmured. The road into the wilderness was rugged and desolate, and many places were unbelievable. Fortunately, the old crow from the Crow Food tribe led the way, and the others could follow their team. Soon, the speed of the large army gradually slowed down. A mountain pass appeared ahead. The two peaks are like two huge fingers, like two ancient guards standing side by side, seeming to be guarding another world. The peak is brown, as if it has been stained with countless blood and experienced countless battles. The peak is full of bumps and convex. Even though it has been covered with green pines and so on for thousands of years, it still shows a sense of cruelty. Facing these two peaks, almost everyone felt a sense of oppression and insignificance. These two peaks seem to be one of the sources of that uneasy atmosphere. Duguyuking murmured. He, Wu Date and Big Black Dog basically have no changes. Because it is difficult for the outside world to affect their xinxing. But at this moment, the crowd broke into quarrels from time to time. You're blocking my way. A strong man suddenly attacked a stranger for no reason. A bloody battle broke out between the two sides. Old guy, you're too ugly, get out of here or I'll kill you. A young man spoke rudely, but in return an old man took action with anger and killed him instantly. Killings occurred from time to time. Along the way, everyone was restraining themselves, but now the irritating atmosphere was too strong. Those who are not firm-minded are easily influenced. This is the evil force of the Great Desolation. Everyone, calm down. A well-informed old man appealed. The great evil power can make people lose themselves. The more powerful a creature is, the easier it is to be influenced. Even in peripheral areas far away from here, many sacrificial spirits will be affected. Therefore, the old locust trees in Huailing village will have a more or less bloodthirsty and dark nature. But even though everyone knew that this was the evil force of the great wilderness, they still found it difficult to resist. The killing continues. There's something wrong with these two peaks. Wu Date also spoke and said, can you tell the dead dog? The big black dog's eyes were a little sad, and he said, this is a seal. Break two fingers into a peak, suppress everything. But unfortunately, as time goes by, the power of the seal eventually weakens. What's more, even these two fingers are stained with that indelible power. Now, in front of everyone, people from the Muling dynasty and the Crow Food tribe had also stopped in front of the pass. This is the entrance to the ruins. The two peaks have turned into a barrier. Although the power continues to weaken, you still have to pay a heavy price to enter. Are you ready? The old crow flapped its wings and looked at Mu Jinglong. Mu Jinglong said lightly, the divine blood is ready. He stepped forward holding a jade box in his hand. Among them was a bowl of amber-like blood. There's actually a god behind you. The old crow's eyes were extremely solemn and he murmured. No wonder you dare to come. Now, all we need is human blood. Mu Jinglong said calmly, human blood is everywhere. He turned to look behind him, at the countless people from tribes and villages who followed them, and said, kill. In an instant, the strong men of the Wood Spirit dynasty turned their iron-scaled horses around and charged towards the people from other tribes and villages. This time they came to the wilderness with big plans. How could they let others follow them? Because, from the very beginning, they were ready to massacre everyone who came with them. Only with the guidance of divine blood and the watering of human blood can the barrier of the mountain pass be broken. In an instant, everyone else was in panic. The people dispatched by the Wood Spirit dynasty this time are all elites. Among the cavalry, about half were strong men in the peeping realm. There are powerful people in the realm of fusion dao and even in the realm of concentration. The ordinary forces in the wilderness were no match at all, and countless people died in an instant. Mu Jinglong jumped out, holding a jade bottle. The blood of the dead people, like a stream, trickled into the jade bottle. Kill more. The more blood sacrifices there are, the longer the barrier will be open. The old crow cries indifferently. And at this moment, a cavalryman in the realm of peeping, holding a powerful war spear in his hand, stabbed Wu Date and others. Court death. Dugu Yuking raised his hand and waved his sword. In an instant, the cavalryman's head fell to the ground. When the surrounding cavalry saw this, they immediately surrounded and killed him. The big black dog's eyes were extremely gloomy and he said, "How dare you use human blood to water the seal here, ridiculous and blasphemous." Woof! It screamed. This shout shook almost half of the wilderness. There was a loud bang in everyone's ears, and many people with lower realms felt like they were deaf. Many powerful men in the Wood Spirit dynasty were all at a loss at this moment and could no longer fight. Even Mu Jinglong, who was collecting human blood, turned pale and fell to the ground. The old crow's hair stood on end and he turned back in horror. Everyone turned their heads in shock. Where their eyes focus. A big black dog is like the emperor of this wilderness. Keep your head high and walk out step by step. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 424. A dog barking seems to contain supreme power. Everyone in the venue was frightened. Old Crow, Mu Jinglong, and others all looked up. At this moment, the big black dog was like a supreme being, extremely invincible. What kind of dog is this? It's so ferocious, does it contain the blood of the Tengu? Mu Jinglong murmured. Old Crow's eyes were full of fear and he said, "So strong, so strong." And Mu Manking, with trembling eyes, said, "Uncle, it was them. They were the ones who injured Mugong and took away the iron piece." Mu Jinglong's face was even more grim. He took a deep breath, stabilized his mind, stepped forward and said, "What do you mean, Your Excellency? You and I are here for the treasure. Why are you preventing me from sacrificing human blood to the seal? You need to know that the seal here can only be opened by sacrificing a large amount of human blood." Hearing this, everyone except the Crow Food tribe and the Wood Spirit dynasty changed their expressions. It turns out they are planning to kill us and sacrifice us. How abominable. I also said that they were so generous and willing to let us follow, but I didn't expect that they had evil intentions. Everyone is hating and afraid. However, the big black dog said indifferently, "Sacrifice. Madness. Stained with human blood is a desecration of this place." The dog's eyes were extremely solemn. Mu Jinglong said in a deep voice, "If you want to enter it, there is only one way to go. Do you want to stop us?" Although the dog in front of him is indeed very strong, so strong that even Mu Jinglong has to give him 3 points of thin noodles. However, if the other party wants to stop them, they, the Muling dynasty, will definitely not hesitate to fight. They are determined to win this place. Even, divine blood was prepared for this reason. In his opinion, this black dog may be above the realm of refining gods, but they also have many backup plans during this trip. The big black dog looked at him contemptuously and said, "If this emperor wants to stop me, how can you stop me? As for entering this place, you are really stupid. You have found the wrong method, and you are still self-righteous. You are as ignorant as the emperor's favorite." After saying that, it suddenly raised its paw. In an instant, countless formations appeared from under its claws. There seemed to be some kind of sound. Above the pass, the terrifying avenue barrier slowly opened at this moment. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. The pass is wide open, can we enter? No need for sacrifice. Even the old crow's eyes were full of shock. It should be noted that in the past, when God himself came, he could only choose the method of sacrifice. There is no need for a sacrifice of divine blood or human blood. What is the origin of this dog? It whispers. Mu Jinglong took a deep look at the big black dog, his eyes full of meaning. Your Excellency, are you familiar with this place? He is testing. The big black dog put away his paws calmly and said. This emperor has seen some records by chance. It certainly doesn't tell the other person the truth. Mu Jinglong was thinking in his eyes, but said nothing, saying. I hope you have a safe journey in these ruins. After saying that, he waved his hand and said, come in. Immediately, about 300 of the people they brought came forward and followed him inside. The people from the Crow Food tribe also followed suit. Let's go in and look for opportunities. Quick! People from other tribes and villages are scrambling to be the first. Damn dog, why don't you just kill these people? Let them go in, what a hindrance they are. Wu Dade spoke to the big black dog, a little puzzled. But the big black dog raised his eyes and looked in a certain direction in the sky. The dog grinned and said. Don't panic, the guy behind these people hasn't come yet, that guy should be of some use. Wu Dade understood immediately. This is about fishing. Only by letting the people from the Muling dynasty in can we fish out the beings behind them. Let's go. Duguyuking spoke. Soon, they passed the mountain pass. Behind the pass is a valley. What hits my face is the blazing wind and even more powerful evil power. It was like there was a big furnace not far away, and the temperature in this area was extremely high. It's so hot here. Wu Dade said. Every place Suzaku passes by is a realm of fire. The big black dog murmured, saying. Walk. Not far ahead. Ah. Suddenly, screams came. I saw a few cultivators walking a little faster in front of the large group, and they actually started to spontaneously ignite at this moment. They screamed, and their companions around them tried their best, but they couldn't extinguish the fire. Soon, several people were turned into ashes. Here, the temperature here is too high. If your cultivation level is low, you will be ignited. How far ahead is it, and how scary is it? Many people were frightened. The big team also stopped. Not far ahead is the Samadhi Sea of Fire. Where are the things you brought? I don't want to become a roasted crow. Old Crow suddenly looked at Mu Jinglong and others. Mu Jinglong smiled lightly and said. Bring it. In an instant, several large boxes appeared. A cold feeling came from the box. Opening the box, I saw that there were pieces of ice silkworm clothing inside. Mu Jinglong took a few pieces and distributed them to Mu Manking, Lao Yao, Yatong Tian, and others in turn. Ice silkworm clothes woven from 10,000 years of ice silk, I'm really willing to give it up. Old Crow was a little surprised and immediately put on his clothes. The rest of the strong men received ice silkworm clothes that were of a much lower grade, so they all wore them too. Haha, facing this invisible sea of fire, do you have any other way to get in safely? Mu Jinglong suddenly turned around and looked at the big black dog. He smiled and said, why don't you give us that piece of iron, and we will give you an ice silkworm coat. From Mu Manking's description, the piece of iron seemed very extraordinary, and might even be related to this place. However, the big black dog's cultivation is not simple, so he doesn't dare to grab it head on. The big black dog said calmly. Noisy. Mu Jinglong's face darkened, if you don't eat the toast, you will be punished with a drink. Enter. Immediately, the Muling dynasty and the Crow food tribe entered together. Many people stayed here and did not dare to go any further. Only some brave ones continued to move forward. Walk. Duguyuking spoke. He was quite taciturn along the way, but extremely determined. No, senior brother Dugu, it seems very dangerous ahead. What if we catch fire? We don't have eye silkworm clothes. Wu Dade's scalp was numb. The ones just burned were so badly burned that it was scary. The big black dog was speechless for a while and said, "Look at what you're wearing. Shameless, so shameless." After saying that, he shook his head and walked forward. When Wu Dade heard this, he was startled and looked at his clothes. The coarse linen and linen clothes were all woven by the village and from the mulberry and linen grown by the master. His eyes suddenly lit up and he understood immediately. "Wait for me. The further you go, the higher the temperature becomes. Even, in the barren valley, 1 or 2 red flames can be seen everywhere. That's the true fire of Samadhi. The advancing team needs to carefully circumvent the Samadhi true fire. On the way, many practitioners who lacked the protection of treasures spontaneously commusted. The screams continued. We are almost reaching the invisible fire realm. The old crow spoke. Uncle, those guys are not dead yet. At this time, Mu Manking pointed at Wu Dade and others. I saw Wu Dade, Duguyuking, and the big black dog walking on the ground. There wasn't even a drop of sweat on their faces. Mu Jinglong thought and murmured. Could it be that they also have insulating treasures? But, I didn't see it. But it doesn't matter, the real danger has not yet come. Samadhi true fire realm. At this time, a loud shout came from the front. The team stopped. In front of everyone's eyes, an invisible realm of fire appeared. There is no bright flame visible, but everyone can feel the irresistible temperature. The space was burned and distorted, and everyone could only see the scene 1 or 2 steps in front of them. Just being close makes one feel like his whole body is about to melt. Extremely scary. Even though the people of the Muling dynasty were all wearing eye silk clothes, their eyes were full of fear at this moment. Enter! Mu Jinglong shouted loudly. He took the first step and led everyone forward. Step into the realm of fire. The eye silkworm clothes on most people were instantly roasted and turned yellow, and the white ice-cold air was instantly evaporated. Only Mu Jinglong and a few others can still maintain it. What they wear is the 10,000-year eye silkworm clothes, which is different from others. At this moment, no one can enter except for people from the Muling dynasty and the Crow food tribe. However, Wu Dade, Duguyuking and Big Black Dog continued to step forward. They also stepped into the realm of fire. They entered the realm of fire and were unscathed. Uncle, are they coming in too? Mu Manking pointed at them. Mu Jinglong's face darkened and he said in a deep voice. We must not let these miscellaneous fish disturb us again. As soon as he finished speaking, a fire-colored feather suddenly appeared in his hand. This is the most precious treasure that their ancestors brought out from the Suzaku ruins in the past, the Suzaku feather. This is also one of the greatest confidences for them to explore Zuk ruins this time. Incite the fire of the red bird and burn all enemies. He roared lowly, and Suzaku feather made a sudden stroke. In the fire domain, a terrifying fire spirit suddenly appeared, like a divine bird, and pounced on Duguyuking, Wu Dade, and others. If I continue to get stuck, I suggest you read books first. Let me take a breath. Recently, my mind has been all mushy and I can't find my state. This feeling is very uncomfortable. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 425. The Suzaku fire spirit suddenly appeared. Everyone's expressions changed. The moment the firebird appeared, the temperature in the field increased by more than 10 times. The eye silkworm clothes of many people in the wood spirit dynasty and the crow food tribe turned yellow at this moment, and they let out shrill screams. Ordinary eye silkworm clothing cannot withstand the temperature caused by the appearance of the fire spirit. Mu Jinglong's eyes were as cold as ice. According to the records of the ancestors, Suzaku Jinyu can summon the Suzaku fire spirit in this fire domain. The Suzaku fire spirit is an extremely terrifying spirit of flames. It is said that during the last exploration, it could even hurt a god. And although this big black dog is not weak, it will definitely not reach the level of a god. God, look down at the common people, high above. Moreover, this big black dog is an enemy rather than a friend. It is best to take this opportunity to get rid of it. Don't let it get in again. A huge firebird has swooped down. Dead dog, claw out. Wu Dade was a little anxious. Although the fire domain could not hurt them, the fire spirit made him feel a burning sensation. It was hot and sweaty on the spot. The big black dog said. I don't want to use my claws, Duguyuking, you come. It seems a little timid. Duguyuking stepped forward and faced the fire spirit with a calm expression. Suddenly, a pen appeared in his hand. The pen is like a sword, passing through. In an instant, another kind of flame seemed to appear on the tip of his pen. The flame was like pure gold, as if it were the first fire born in the world, and its power was unparalleled. If we say that the Suzaku fire spirit appeared just now, Wanruo saw a ball of fire. So now, it's like they are facing the molten flames of the sun in person. Fear instantly filled everyone's hearts. The surrounding Samadhi true fire territory immediately retreated due to the appearance of this flame, and the area within dozens of steps of Duguyuking was suddenly wiped out. The terrifying fire spirit, at this moment, just because of his stroke, disappeared. Everyone in the field was stunned. Completely stunned. How is this possible? What kind of flame appeared just now, how is this possible? The Suzaku fire spirit, the invincible flame born in the fire realm, was actually scattered. His pen. Everyone exclaimed in shock, all staring at the pen in Duguyuking's hand. No, the level of the flame is actually higher than that of the Suzaku fire spirit. The eyes of the old crow from the crow food tribe were full of shock. I am holding the vermilion bird true feather, which attracts the spirit of the fire realm, but, I am not as good as him with a single stroke. What kind of treasure is that? Mu Jinglong was also very frightened. Duguyuking held the Huangtian pen in her hand and felt a touch of warmth. The true fire of the phoenix originates from the same source as heaven and earth. He murmured. The big black dog said. The fire of Suzaku is also the supreme divine fire, but the real Suzaku feather in his hand is just a waste feather, and it has long lost its divine power. And this moment, under the influence of Duguyuking, there seemed to be some kind of secret power flowing in the fire domain. Huh? The fire domain has dispersed. Suddenly someone spoke in surprise. The invisible fire domain actually retreated very quickly. Just now, the space was distorted by the invisible flames, and everyone could only see the scene within a few steps. At this moment, the fire domain suddenly rose into the sky, and when everyone looked up, a pale tree appeared in front of everyone in an instant. It was a towering tree, its leaves had long since withered and fallen, and its pale body looked lifeless, like bones. But this tree exudes a suffocating heat, and its pale trunk is like white molten gold. It was as if this tree was the source of the entire fire domain just now. And under the pale trees, there was a barren mound. The mound is low and it is a solitary grave. Dead trees, lonely graves. On the ground between the people and the lonely grave, various weapons were scattered. There were broken war spears, blood-stained arrows, cracked armor, and even some Suzaku feathers that looked like divine arrows scattered all over the ground. It's like having experienced a great battle. Just the remnants of this energy make people tremble. Here, this is where the ancestors arrived thousands of years ago. Mu Jinglong was instantly excited. According to ancestral records, the ancestors of the Muling dynasty once came here. They discovered the treasures scattered in the fire domain and picked up a lot. But their ancestors did not record what happened after finding the treasure, and only used 2 words. Weird. It cannot be said, it cannot be expressed. It even left behind the ancestral teaching that future generations should never set foot in this place, never leave the wilderness, let alone bring the things here out of the wilderness. But later, after all their ancestors died, the ancestors of their Muling dynasty were unwilling to wither in the wilderness, broke through the shackles of their ancestral precepts, and left the wilderness. The Muling dynasty was established in the outside world. His eyes revealed unparalleled passion. A flash of shock flashed in old Crow's eyes and he said, "There is actually a tomb here." In the past, when it arrived in the fire domain, it once caught a glimpse of the rainbow and vaguely saw the shadow of the trees. However, I have never seen the full view of this giant tree, let alone this tomb. Hearing this, Mu Jinglong was even more shocked. It seems that old Crow and the others didn't see this tomb or tree back then. The ancestors and the others only picked up some peripheral things back then, which was enough to establish a dynasty. Now, they've gone even further. You will definitely get greater opportunities. There are rare animals and rare plants here. Wu Dade was surprised. He looked at the crystal piece, and 2 lights lit up on it. Found it? He was so happy. But the big black dog had a sad look in its eyes, saying, "The tree of fire does not extinguish the eternal light, but it has been extinguished today. The Suzaku fell, the tree of fire went out. They are all." As for Tuguyuking, looking at the tree at this moment, an inexplicable confusion flashed in his eyes. This tree. This grave. He suddenly stepped forward step by step. He stepped over the broken armor. The broken halberd and sword seemed to remind him of the bleak and distant history of this place. "Dare you, this place belongs to us." When the old Crow saw this, he became anxious and suddenly rushed towards Tuguyuking. Mu Jinglong also took action. They will never allow others to get their hands on the treasures here. But at this moment, the giant pale tree in front suddenly emitted endless energy. The chi machine completely enveloped Tuguyuking, and Tuguyuking's figure disappeared in an instant. The attacks of Lao Yao, Mu Jinglong, and others were instantly empty. "Brother!" Wu Dade exclaimed, turned around and said, "Dead dog, what's going on?" The big black dog was a little lost and muttered. Suzaku was his sword spirit. And at this moment, Tuguyuking is already in a secret space. The sacred atmosphere here is abundant, just like the sacred land in the 9 heavens. The flowers and grass are in full bloom, and the sky is filled with burning clouds. That's real fire. A towering giant tree stands alone in the vast world. And above the towering tree, a spiritual bird covered in flames was flying. As if it had discovered Tuguyuking, the flame bird suddenly flew down from the towering tree. It turned into a woman. Wearing a fiery red dress, she looked like she was coming from the flames. The world was eclipsed by her appearance. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 426. This world seems to exist in illusory time and space. But everything is already so real. The fallen flowers are colorful, the vanilla is like a waterfall, and a huge flame tree opens up the sky and fills the sky with flames. This tree has molten gold as its trunk and flames as its leaves, which seem to never go out. The girl is dressed in a red dress like fire. She is like an elf in the world, as if she is the supreme god of fire. She has a slender waist, a slender figure, a long flame skirt that drags on the grassy grass like a waterfall, and her facial features are extremely delicate. Her eyes were red, as red as flames, as true as red gold. She raised her eyes and her eyes fell on Duguyuking. She looked at Duguyuking's hands. There was no sword in Duguyuking's hand. "Where's your sword?" she suddenly whispered softly. At this moment, tears seemed to fall from her hot eyes. "You don't have a sword." "The sword is there, but the sword is broken, and you are gone." She landed in front of Duguyuking. She stretched out her slender hand, as if she wanted to touch Duguyuking's face. Duguyuking looked at the woman in the red dress in front of him. There was a kind of warmth in his eye sockets, but he tried his best to think, but there was only a blank in his mind. "Who are you? Who am I?" he murmured and suddenly reached out to grab the hand of the woman in the red dress. But when he stretched out his hand, there was nothing. His hand passed through the hand of the woman in the red dress. The other party turned out to be like air. There was a trace of sadness in the bright eyes of the woman in the red dress. Immediately afterwards, her figure faded. "I'm waiting for you. Wait for you. You." Her voice sounded faintly, and then, this side of the world suddenly disappeared. Duguyuking's figure reappeared in the Suzaku ruins, in front of the giant pale tree. He looked at the pale giant tree in a daze, his eyes inexplicably lost. "Have you met her?" The big black dog suddenly spoke. "Who is she?" Duguyuking stared at the big black dog. The big black dog was silent for a long time and said, "Your former sword spirit." Duguyuking was also silent. "Who am I?" The big black dog said. "I don't know whether you were him before or you are you now. The master picked you up from the cause and effect of the underworld. You need to find all the answers by yourself." Duguyuking seems to understand but not understand. He walked towards the lonely grave. Once upon a time, the ever-burning tree illuminated the sky. She was an elf in the world. Today, the giant trees are pale, the flames have dissipated, the tombs stand alone, and the grass is no longer there. Is she, in the grave? Invite the gods to come to the world. However, at this moment, Mu Jinglong next to him shouted loudly. There was an extra clay sculpture in his hand. It was a statue of a god. At this moment, his hands were dripping with blood, pouring on the statue. The reason why their wood spirit dynasty dared to enter the wilderness this time was because of the statue of the god. In the great ruins realm, almost all the forces will worship gods. God is the most transcendent existence, the synonym for invincibility, and the master of a world. When the belief in the gods is pious enough or the incense reaches a certain amount, you can receive the blessings of the gods. Certain statues of gods that are incense-laden and enshrined can even become the dharma body of a god, possessing part of the power of the god. Although this is far from a true god, it is also a supreme power in the entire great ruins world. Following his blood sacrifice to the statue, above the wilderness and under the sky, they were suddenly enveloped in a green light. The sun dimmed, and only this green glow remained between the sky and the earth. Everyone felt an inexplicable terrifying pressure at this moment. This comes from the gods. The gods are coming, the gods are manifesting. The supreme god is actually here. Welcome to the gods. People from the Crow Food tribe and the Muling dynasty all knelt down and shouted. Green clouds were billowing, opening and closing in unison, and a being shrouded in green light suddenly appeared in the sky. The aura is overwhelming. In the green light, there is a man. He is wearing a green divine robe and is supreme. This is a god. His eyes fell on the giant tree and the lonely grave in front of him. This tree, could it be the rumored eternal tree? The god murmured, and a fiery light flashed in his eyes, saying, "An ancient legend, a supreme opportunity, this belongs to me." He grabbed the giant pale tree with his big hand. At the same time, a powerful spiritual power came from his hands, and he wanted to open the lonely grave to find the treasure. "You dare!" Duguyuking's eyes were about to burst, and his whole body turned into a sword intent that soared to the sky, approaching the gods. An ant dares to show off his power. The green god snaps his fingers. Like rolling thunder, this is a finger that can kill everything. Facing this finger, Duguyuking was like a dead leaf in the wind. He was just a glimpse into the path of the holy path, but what he took action at this moment was the Dharma body of a god. Duguyuking immediately flew out. Woof! The big black dog roared loudly, blocked the spiritual power of countless gods with its claws, and caught Duguyuking. The god looked at the big black dog indifferently, with a flash of surprise in his eyes. A former god. However, he then shook his head and said, "Now you have fallen under the altar, and your Taoist fruit has become useless, just like an ant." He is aloof and doesn't care about the big black dog. The big black dog's eyes darkened and he said, "This little wandering god dares to despise this emperor, he deserves to be killed." The green god smiled and said, "How dare you call yourself emperor? It's ridiculous, I despise you, so what?" Hearing this, Wu Dade couldn't help it and said bitterly, "Damn it, I can't help it anymore. I've never seen such an arrogant grandson. He actually dares to despise my dog. Come on, I'll give you a big salute." He immediately stepped forward and was about to salute. However, the big black dog raised his paw and stopped him. The big black dog looked at the green god and said, "You want something from the grave?" The green god said coldly, "They all belong to this god." As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed the tomb with his big hands. Suddenly, the moment his hand fell, suddenly, a faint grey mist floated out of the low solitary grave. The grey mist, like a tarsal maggot, instantly passed through the green god's spiritual power and floated in front of him. "Huh? What is this?" The green god was surprised. Just as he hesitated for a moment, the grey mist entered his body. Oh no! In an instant, the green god suddenly screamed miserably. His body actually split apart instantly. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. What happened? What is that, a splittable body? It should be noted that the gods look down on the people, and their divine bodies are flawless. A single hair can destroy a whole world of living beings, and a drop of blood can destroy the strongest foundation in the world. In front of everyone's attention, blood burst from the body of the god and poured down. And in the lonely grave, strange grey mist followed one after another, like a hiding ghost, finally crawling out. Those grey mists seeped into the divine blood. The god has fallen. Facing this grey fog, the gods didn't even have the ability to resist, just like a chicken or a dog. No. What is this? It's terrible. This can actually kill gods. At this moment, Old Crow, Mu Jinglong, and others were all shocked and frightened to the extreme. That's a god. However, he died like this. Weird grey fog. Weird, is this the weird mentioned in the ancestral teachings? You can kill gods easily, no. Mu Jinglong was trembling all over. At this moment, he remembered the ancestral teachings. You are not allowed to explore the wilderness again, you are not allowed to leave the wilderness, and you are not allowed to let the things here appear outside the wilderness. Other than that, there are only two words. Weird. Weird. And the grey mist seeped into the divine blood, and the divine blood seemed to have gained another kind of life. A creature that looked exactly like the green god just now appeared. However, it had no sacred aura on its body, only the smell of death, no agility of life, and only a dull coldness. The moment this creature appeared, everyone in the scene suddenly fell to the ground. Panic, overwhelming panic. Lao Yao, Mu Jinglong, Mu Wanking, etc., all excrement and urine flowed out at this moment, like sheep facing a tiger, completely losing all their concentration. This terrifying aura spread across the entire wilderness. Countless ferocious beasts were kneeling on their knees and moaning. The birds that were spreading their wings fell down, and their shrill cries shook the sky. Millions of miles of wilderness, the creatures are trembling. This is the most instinctive fear. And in Zuk ruins. Wu Dade was stunned and said, "What the hell is this?" The eyes of the big black dog were filled with unprecedented solemnity, and he said, "Weird spirit. That strange spirit has been walking towards Tuguyuking step by step. It looks the same as the previous green god. However, its aura is so cold and decayed, and its gray skin is like a ghost." It reached out and grabbed Tuguyuking's throat. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 427. A wisp of grey mist directly killed the gods. Moreover, he also used the blood of the gods to transform into a human exactly like the gods. An aura of decay, and coldness enveloped this grey-brown person. It strangled Tuguyuking's throat, as cold as stone, and seemed to have no emotions belonging to living beings. It appears only to destroy, only to kill. Tuguyuking's cultivation is completely useless at this moment. He almost choked. The big black dog has been staring at the strange spirit. Now that the time has come, it suddenly spoke and said, "Sword piece. Sword piece." A piece of scrap iron appeared in Tuguyuking's hand. With just this thought, he grasped the piece of scrap metal and stabbed it into the body of this strange spirit. In an instant, an unparalleled power actually erupted from the iron piece. It seems as if it can tear the sky apart, as if it can create heaven and earth. The invincible sword light, the overwhelming sword intent, and an indescribable terrifying energy burst out instantly. Boom! Suddenly, the strange spirit exploded. The sword piece seemed to turn into a dazzling sun, making everyone in the field blind. They couldn't see straight. There was dead silence. A long time, a long time. Everyone in the field slowly recovered. Their eyes gradually adapted and they were finally able to see the surroundings clearly. Almost everyone fell to the ground with dazed expressions on their faces. Even Wu Dade sat down on the ground and looked at Tuguyuking blankly. Tuguyuking looked at the sword in his hand, his eyes a little confused. The sword piece in his hand was still there, but the terrifying and strange spirit had disappeared. It was as if it had never existed. Master has foreseen everything, he gave me this sword piece just to let me destroy this weird spirit. He muttered. Then, he took a deep breath and walked under the giant pale tree. He looked towards the lonely grave and towards the giant tree. In front of the grave, he saw a white tombstone. The tombstone, which seemed to be made from the trunk of a giant pale tree, had fallen to the ground. Tuguyuking picked it up gently and looked down, only to see lines of small words on the tombstone. The sacred cow, unicorn, and wolf are all dead. How many of the 10 spirits are left? The 10 lords are all separated. Even if the magic medicine is used up, there is no way to save lives. Unless the yin and yang are reversed and their shadows are traced again in the ocean of cause and effect in the underworld. We have been discovered, and this world is being watched. My fire is extinguished, but the fire will not go out. I will die, my old friends will wither, and perhaps no one will remember my name anymore. Finally, there is a line of large characters, which is the name of the tomb owner. The tomb of the sword spirit Suzaku in red. Tuguyuking looked at this line of words, and tears suddenly welled up in his eyes. He didn't know the great secret described in this line. But he felt a sense of desolation and sadness. He seemed to see the girl in a red dress slowly dying under the giant pale tree, with her old friend gone and withering away alone. Red. I am coming. He gently rubbed the tombstone. Even though countless years had passed, The tombstone was still warm. "Damn dog, what's going on?" Wu Dade's eyes were filled with fear. The big black dog murmured. "Weird spirits, truly terrifying and ominous, only the master can destroy them. Of course, the sword he polished himself can also." But it didn't say much, raised its head, looked at Tuguyuking, and said, "The strange fog can cut off all vitality and destroy all sacred things, but now, the strange things in this tomb have been lured out by the divine blood." From the beginning, the big black dog had the intention of letting the god draw out the grey mist. "It knows a lot about the strange fog," Tuguyuking said. "Is there any way to make her reappear?" The big black dog said. "She died here in this world, and she has a great cause and effect with you. With your blood, you can recall a shadow from the cycle of time and give her a new life in this life, but the price is..." Tuguyuking said word by word. "At all costs." The words fell. He used the blade of his sword to slit his wrists. Bloody water poured down on the roots of the giant pale trees and drizzled on the barren hills. Suddenly, it seems that in this world, there is a sea of cause and effect emerging, and a terrifying shadow is coming. There is an unknown mysterious creature that seems to have raised its terrifying giant hand to kill Tuguyuking. The sky is dark, and the sun and moon have no light. He is asking for life from the ocean of death and seeds from the dead ice field. This is an act that goes against heaven. There is an unspeakable existence in the dark that wants to destroy him. This terrifying power surpasses everything, not even gods can contend with it. But the big black dog suddenly ran to Mu Jinglong and took the divine blood from Mu Jinglong's hand. That was what he had planned to use to sacrifice and open the seal. At this moment, the big black dog dipped its paw into the divine blood, then raised its paw and wrote an ancient text in the air. That is the word Fan. "We worship together in the underworld, worship in the sky, Xuanhuan. Those who chant this name suppress all cause and effect, suppress all ominous things. Whatever the master wants, the sky dare not block, the earth dare not reject, all the 9 netherworlds and underworlds surrender." Woof 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 woof. The hair of the big black dog stood on end, and there was even a trace of blood spilling from its mouth. The fruit of its path has not been restored, and now it can only do its best to use a great method to help Tuguyuking fight against the unknown terror. The mortal character written with divine blood suddenly burst into flames. Those terrifying ghostly things, those existences of death that are unwilling to obey. This moment suddenly disappeared completely because of the appearance of the word Fan. Worship God like a ghost. One word suppressed everything. As those secretly trying to stop Tuguyuking were suppressed. The barren hills cracked. The giant pale tree breaks. In the tomb, a ball of flame suddenly jumped out. It was a ball of fire that looked like red gold. After it appeared, it suddenly turned into a fiery red bird. And at the root of the originally pale giant tree, a small sapling appeared. The white body is like molten gold, and the leaves are like maple, but even redder. The fiery red bird jumped onto the small sapling. Its bright red eyes looked at Tuguyuking, seemingly full of curiosity. Tuguyuking stretched out his hand. The red bird suddenly fell into his hand. Curled up and low, his hands were like the warmest harbor for this little bird. "Hongyi, is that you?" Tuguyuking murmured in a low voice. Now he understands. "I am in the earthly world and have another life. But the self in that life has fallen, and there is no trace left. Therefore, Master promoted the cycle of rebirth in the underworld, found himself in the cycle, and granted himself new life. And Suzaku, that woman named Hongyi, was once his sword spirit in another life. In another life, my sword was broken, people died, and the sword spirit Suzaku withered here, dying while waiting, and withered while watching. She built a monument for herself." Tuguyuking felt great grief in her heart and her hands trembled slightly. When the red bird heard the word red clothes, A trace of doubt suddenly appeared in his fiery eyes. It is also like Tuguyuking. New life, forgetting the past. The past you, the past sword spirit, the present you, the present Suzaku. The big black dog was sitting next to him, a little sluggish at the moment, and said. The tree reappears, the bird is reborn, and you are also picked up again from the cause and effect of the master's passing. If you want to understand the past, you must find more, especially your sword. When Tuguyuking heard this, his eyes were extremely firm. I will find everything from the old days. He lowered his head, looked at the red bird in his hand, and said. Everything about you, and me. At the same time, he turned towards the big black dog and said. What will my other life be like? Hearing this, the big black dog sniffed around cautiously and whispered. The peerless energy emitted by the sword piece just now, as well as the lingering power brought by the name of the master, can cut off all causes and effects, and can block all listening in the dark. It doesn't hurt to tell you something now, anyway, you will be there later. I will forget. It immediately raised its head and said. I have been sleeping for countless years, I only know that your other life and many old friends are gone forever. Tuguyuking said. What are the 10 gods and spirits mentioned on the red tombstone? The big black dog was silent for a long time and said. The 10 mythical creatures such as the sacred cow, unicorn, wolf, and Suzaku, are called the 10 spirits. In another life, you will be one of the 10. In addition, there are 10 medicines, with flat peach as the first. Tuguyuking realized something and said. So, Master accepting 10 disciples, means. The big black dog's words were concise and concise. It means that you are all dead, completely dead, and there is no hair left. The master can only repeat the cause and effect, personally explore reincarnation, and go to the underworld to find it. Tuguyuking nodded and said, 9 kinds of rare plants, except for the flat peach, exactly 9 kinds, that's right. Wu Dade was also listening nearby and was a little distracted. At this moment, he suddenly asked curiously. Dead dog, then, why is master only looking for 9 kinds of rare animals? There are obviously 10 kinds of 10 spirits. The big black dog twitched his mouth and said, ignorant people love you, because this emperor is not dead. Hearing this, Wu Dade was suddenly stunned. He looked straight at the big black dog, looking very disbelieving. But the big black dog suddenly sniffed. In this world, the realms formed by the divine power of the sword and the word fan written by the big black dog have disappeared. Some kind of great power came suddenly. In an instant, all living creatures in this area were struck by this energy. Tuguyuking, Wu Dade, etc. all showed a look of confusion for an instant. Their memories just now were wiped out. Completely forgetting everything the big black dog said just now, they couldn't bear it. What's going on? Is there some untouchable information that I just learned about, so is it being wiped out now? Tuguyuking murmured in astonishment. However, he didn't think much about it. He held the little Suzaku in his hand with extremely loving and happy eyes. It is enough to find Suzaku. The little Suzaku screamed happily and suddenly flew onto his shoulder. Wu Dade said. We have obtained the rare animals and rare plants. Let's go back. Master and the old man will definitely be happy. Tuguyuking nodded, and he gently dug up the sapling of the everlasting tree. They turned around. No. You can't do this. Those who see the treasures have a share, and we also want a share. At this time, Mu Jinglong spoke hastily. He looked at the red bird in Tuguyuking's hand, the sapling of the everlasting tree, full of passion and greed. That is definitely a wonderful opportunity. However, the big black dog raised his paw. Bang 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 bang. Countless people from the Muling dynasty and the Crow food tribe were destroyed instantly. Everything buried in the wilderness is tainted with weirdness. It should never see the light of day, but the ancestors of these ants were brought to the outside world. These ants still dare to covet this place and should be killed. The big black dog shows no mercy. Soon, they left Zuk ruins. When I look back, the two brown peaks are still guarding this place like ancient gates. Updating a chapter in advance is to inform everyone that the update time will be adjusted. From now on, it will be updated at 2200 hours every day. Don't wait until midnight after reading this tonight. It will be updated at 2200 hours tomorrow. As some readers have said, I have already written about the underworld, and I can't continue to update exclusively on the underworld time. It's time for me to go to bed early to recuperate my brain. In addition, the boss who has been threatening to send me walnuts to supplement my brain, I think I really need it. Go to bed early everyone, good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 428. The Great Ruins Realm. Donghuang. This is a vast land with rich spiritual energy and countless cultivators. The famous God Burial Wilderness already occupies a quarter of the vast land. The rest of the land is mostly undulating, with few plains. At this moment, in the middle region of the eastern wasteland, a huge city. Muling City. This is the capital of the Muling dynasty, one of the 7 dynasties in the eastern wasteland. The palace of the Muling dynasty was magnificent and magnificent. The most peculiar thing was that in the center of the palace, there was a huge green tree. That was the sacrificial spirit of the Wood Spirit dynasty. At this moment, in the imperial palace. Your Majesty, the festival of worship is coming soon. This is the most auspicious day. I think it is best to make an engagement with the Qingyang sect before the festival of worship. An old man stepped forward and spoke to the middle-aged emperor on the dragon chair above. This old man is one of the guardians of the Muling dynasty and Mu Jinglong's father, Mu Jinayun. And sitting on the dragon chair was the emperor of the Muling dynasty Mu Qingkang. When Mu Jinayun spoke, the whole court echoed in agreement. In the eastern wasteland, the 7 dynasties were not the top forces. There are 4 major sects on it. Qingyang sect, Xianshui sect, Tianjian sect, and Divine Medicine sect. The 4 major sections are all cloud forces that can directly communicate with the gods, and there are even masters in the realm of divine communication who are in charge of the sects. Yes, Your Majesty, the ancestor of the Yangui dynasty has received some great opportunity and has broken through to the realm of the gods. He has surpassed the remaining 6 dynasties and is almost on par with the 4 major sections. If you want to compete with the Yangui dynasty, we must be better attached to Qingyang sect. With the support of Qingyang sect, we can sit back and relax. Indeed. Everyone spoke one after another. The Yangui dynasty, which was originally one of the 7 dynasties, has now taken a step further. Both the Muling dynasty and the opposition have felt the pressure of the other party's expansion. They all want to seek asylum. On the dragon chair, Mu Qingkang's face was indifferent. He waved his hand lightly, and the hall immediately became quiet. I understand that all of you are worried. But, these things still have to wait. Waiting for Jinglong and others to return. Although his face was calm, he was worried in his heart. It is difficult for the Muling dynasty to climb up to the Qingyang sect. Therefore, he made a decision. Send Mu Jinglong to Dawang. For this reason, he even brought the only divine body in the Muling dynasty to Mu Jinglong. You must know that it is extremely difficult to condense a divine Dharma body. Since the establishment of the Muling dynasty, the government and the public have worshipped the statue of the Green Sun True God day and night. Countless years have passed before the power of faith can be condensed into one. He has high hopes for Mu Jinglong's journey to the wilderness. After all, the Muling dynasty originated from the great wilderness. Among them, there are many treasures. As long as they can get a little bit to help their ancestors of the Wood Spirit dynasty also break through to the realm of gods, that would be enough. In addition, even if what Mu Jinglong brought from the wilderness is not enough for the ancestor to break through, then it can be used as a dowry for the Princess Mu Wangziu. With more capital, the more capable she is of impressing the Qingyang sect. Everyone couldn't help but nod when they heard this. Mu Jinayun even said, "Your Majesty, don't worry, Jinglong will definitely come back with the treasure." Emperor Mu Qingkang nodded slightly. His Majesty. At this time, another white-haired old man, Mu Zhenkong, stepped forward and said. Mu Jinglong had previously written back, saying that they had discovered traces of their ancestral village, Mu Ling village, in the wilderness. There was a trace of hesitation in his eyes, but he still said, "I think we should send people to check. If it is really the ancestral village, we should send people to take them out of the wilderness. After all, evil forces are very strong in the wilderness, and the people of the tribe have suffered too much from living there for a long time." There was a hint of intolerance in his eyes. However, after he finished speaking, no one in the hall responded to his proposal. Emperor Mu Qingkang just said lightly, "Let's talk about this later." Ancestral village? The entire dynasty has no feelings for this word. The Muling dynasty didn't care about their life or death. Report. At this moment, a rapid voice came from outside. A messenger quickly ran into the hall, knelt down and shouted, "Oops, General Mu Jinglong, Shui Manking, and others, the soul lanterns are all out." In addition, the other 3 quasi-divine Dharmakaya statues in the palace were cracked. Hearing this, the entire court was shocked. Everyone in the hall was extremely horrified. What? How is this possible? How come Mu Jinglong and the others are all dead? The 3 statues of the quasi-god Dharmakaya are cracked? What happened? Everyone was speechless. My son Jinglong is dead. Mu Jinayun stared at the messenger. All the soul lamps were extinguished, which meant that Mu Jinglong and others were all dead. Moreover, even the 3 quasi-divine Dharma bodies in the palace were implicated. On the dragon chair, Mu Qingkang's expression also changed drastically. He couldn't help but stand up and said in a voiceless voice, "What?" His pupils shrank. All the people sent by the Muling dynasty were wiped out. Could it be said that there is something in the wilderness that even the Dharmakaya of the gods cannot conquer? How can this be? God is synonymous with invincibility. Even the 3 quasi-divine Dharmakayas in the palace were implicated and torn apart. These 3 statues in the palace are also the heritage of the Muling dynasty. After a while, if the power of faith is accumulated enough, they can also become gods and Dharma bodies. This is also the reason why he dared to let Mu Jinglong take away the only divine body in the dynasty. At this moment, Mu Jinglong and others are dead, and the quasi-divine Dharma bodies in the palace are all implicated, which means that the divine Dharma bodies in Mu Jinglong and others are probably finished. Mu Qingkang's eyelids twitched, and there was a trace of sweat on his face. He was nervous, he was really nervous at this moment. Blood loss. The divine Dharmakaya is the biggest trump card of the Wood Spirit dynasty. Now, Mu Jinglong took him out and destroyed it. Even the rest of the palace was destroyed. If the Yanggui dynasty comes to kill at this time. His calmness just now disappeared. He suddenly raised his eyes and said, "Explore the wilderness again. Mu Jinayun, take the people there yourself. We must find out what happened." At this moment, the Muling dynasty has no way of turning back. If it stops like this, it means that the loss is completely irreparable. Now, the Muling dynasty is like a gambler who has lost the most chips. The only thing left to do. It's just a desperate attempt to turn over. Hearing this, Mu Jinayun stiffened and said, "Your Majesty, shall I go?" He was a little scared. His son died in the wilderness. Although as a father, he should go and find him, but he was more afraid. "Your Majesty, think twice." At this time, Mu Zhenkong, the guardian elder who had just proposed to take him back to his ancestral village, said hurriedly. Your Majesty, the ancestral precepts say that you must not explore the wilderness again, otherwise there will be great disaster. Now that the ancestral precepts have been fulfilled, I am afraid that we can no longer mess around. When everyone heard this, they looked at each other and thought of it. No more exploring the wilderness, no leaving the wilderness. Weird. Could it be said that what happened today was the punishment for their lineage who violated the ancestral precepts and walked out of the wilderness? Mu Qingkang also frowned. Could it be that it really has something to do with the weirdness mentioned in the ancestral teachings? However, even if something unexpected happens in the wilderness, the Wood Spirit dynasty has no way out. We can only fight with our last breath, he said in a deep voice. Dawang, must go. We have no choice. Since our ancestors were able to bring treasures out of the wilderness back then, I believe we can too. He looked at Mu Jianyun and said. When you go to the God Burial Wilderness, remember to go to the so-called ancestral village. You might be able to find useful information there, maybe. Mu Jianyun was reluctant in every possible way, but he could only grit his teeth and said. I obey. Mu Qingkang waved his hand and said. This matter must be kept secret. No one is allowed to leak it. Dismiss the court. The officials retreated. That day, Mu Jianyun left quietly with his men and horses. And at this moment, in the God Burial Wasteland, Wu Dade, Tuguyuking and Big Black Dog finally returned to the small mountain village. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 429. In the small courtyard. It was already evening, and Gongya was cooking in the kitchen. The south wind is playing the piano, and the sound becomes more and more harmonious. But Li Fan could tell that her piano sound had reached an extreme level. It seems difficult to break through again. This is actually a thorough study of Emperor Zun's formation-breaking song. Nanfan, let me teach you a new song. Li Fan said. Nanfan has passed the basic stage, and now he can learn the middle-level songs. Hearing this, Nanfan was overjoyed and said. Thank you, master. Li Fan sat down and played the piano. The Emperor Zun formation-breaking song, although it has many changes and is fierce with swords and spears, has actually lost the original meaning of the piano. It is good for practicing changes in tunes, etc. After you are familiar with the tune, you should consider the connection and smoothness of the music. Li Fan casually brushed it from the strings. In an instant, it is like big beads and small beads falling on a jade plate, and natural and beautiful notes are like a gurgling stream flowing through. As Li Fan's fingers plucked the strings, the notes were flying in the small courtyard. The sound of the piano is clear and clear, tinkling like a spring, like the coolest wind, like the most refreshing water, which is refreshing. Hearing the sound of Li Fan's piano, everyone felt extremely peaceful, as if they were in trance, intoxicated. What a beautiful piano music, what a beautiful piano music. Just listening to this piano music almost makes my understanding improve. There was a smile on Long Zixuan's lips. Master plays the piano so beautifully. Ziling stopped the brush in her hand, her eyes became crescent-shaped, and she was immersed in the music. Like Buddha's voice, like wonderful principles, parting the clouds and mist, you can see the blue sky. Qing Chen even closed his eyes and fell into concentration. Nanfan looked at Li Fan, her beautiful eyes gradually losing focus at this moment. She felt those flying notes and heard those rhythms that were like the sounds of nature. At this moment, the Li Fan in her eyes was clearly out of this world, like a free and easy immortal who had penetrated all the sounds of nature and understood all the ways of creation. Finally, Li Fan's song fell. But everyone was still intoxicated, and the lingering sound lingered for a long time. Do you have any insights? Li Fan looked at Nanfan. Nanfan nodded and said. Disciple understands, every note of Emperor Zun's formation-breaking song is like a sword or a gun. It kills fiercely and reveals its edge, displaying the sonorous sound of the notes. However, that is only the foundation of Qin Dao. Qin Dao is like nature, with mountains, bright moon, rivers, and streams, endless changes. Li Fan nodded happily. Nanfan's musical talent was indeed good. Master, what is the name of this song? Nanfan asked next. Li Fan said. Forgetting the Dust Song. Nanfan's eyes lit up. This name seemed to make her understanding of piano music even better. Li Fan calmly took out a yellowed music score and said. Here is the music score. You can try to figure it out. Thank you, Master. Nanfan gratefully took the music score and rubbed the yellowed title page with her delicate hands. She could feel the traces of time. She read through it carefully and immediately calmed down, savoring the word Wang Chen. Then the strings plucked. Harmonious notes flowed out from her hands. Emperor Zun's song of breaking the formation is sonorous and killing, while Wang Chen's song is calm and elegant. A different feeling of loneliness, a completely different state of mind. In her days, she forgot about the self that destroyed thousands of armies with one song. Leave all the glitz behind. Her breath changed suddenly. At this moment, she entered the realm of fusion. Divine Way. Moreover, he rushed directly from the first level of the Rongdao realm to the sixth level of the Rongdao realm, and then stopped. A group of disciples, who were intoxicated by the music of the piano, were shocked when they felt the change in the south wind's aura. Is this a breakthrough? Sister Nanfan, I just played it for the first time, can I make a breakthrough? Zi Ling was a little distracted, and then immediately said, wow, I want it too, Master, and I also want your guidance. Her painting path has also reached a bottleneck. Li Fan smiled and said. Do you still remember what your teacher asked you to draw when you first learned to paint? Zi Ling said, remember, Master asked me to draw eggs. Li Fan nodded and said. If you want to go further, it's very simple. Start drawing a chicken today. He pointed to the chicken coop and said. Draw it 10 million times. When Zi Ling heard this, her mouth opened wide, a little shocked. Master, 10 million times. Li Fan said, yes, 10 million times is just a starting point. In fact, when he first painted, just the chicken, he painted it more than 100 million times. Let Zi Ling draw it 10 million times, there is really no nonsense. Hearing this, Xiling took a deep breath and said. Zi Ling understands, Master, don't worry, I will draw the chicken well. Immediately, she started writing. However, she found that when she laid her eyes on those chickens, she felt unable to write. Because, any one of those chickens, seems to be covered by thousands of great ways. Observing the chickens, she was like observing a vast ocean. At this moment, she deeply felt her own insignificance and powerlessness. She was at a loss. Li Fan gently held her hand and said. Don't be fooled. It's just chicken. Look at its outline and look at its expression. Although it is difficult to capture, its shape is definite. Zi Ling felt the master's words in her ears, and felt Li Fan's warm hand gently touching her. She was in a daze for a moment, and saw that the rice paper, written in one stroke, actually had the shape of a chicken. Understand? Li Fan looked at her with a smile. This is just a simple stroke. He just wants to tell Zi Ling that everything can change from one stroke. Zi Ling was thoughtful and took a deep look at the chickens. Well, if it's difficult to observe the chickens that are walking around, you can observe the ones that are lying still. It will be easier for you to learn. Li Fan opened his mouth to remind. He didn't notice that as soon as he finished speaking, the group of chickens that were swimming and pecking suddenly fell down. They all lay down together, not daring to move. Ling was startled for a moment, her expression was a little complicated. Then, those were a group of phoenixes. Master, just say something. She seized the opportunity and swiped past a native chicken. Then, close your eyes. Feeling what Master taught just now. The brush strokes are carried across the rice paper. In an instant. She was so blessed that she only had one thought about the native chicken in her mind. The pen seemed to have an involuntary feeling. She opened her eyes and saw that under one stroke, the shape of a chicken had become roughly outlined. Compared with Master's, there is a huge difference, but it is already a new breakthrough for me. At the same time, her breath changed quietly. Merge the realm of Tao and step into the divine path. Master, thank you, Ling must work hard and try harder. Ling was extremely happy instantly. Li Fan also smiled. He turned around, only to find a group of disciples, all looking at him eagerly. That look. That's a studious look. Li Fan couldn't help but feel pleased that these disciples were really working hard and making progress. It's a pity that all this hard work and improvement are not used on the right path. Those who grow grass, those who raise fish, those who sweep the floors, Li Fan feels a little ashamed. No matter how well these disciples learn, they are still country bumpkins from a mountain village. He sighed in his heart, but he still taught these disciples new things one by one. In fact, he can see in his eyes that everyone has learned very well what they are currently learning. You have almost learned the first stage of planting and breeding, planting, but the more important thing is cultivating. Breeding can be divided into three major stages: water and fertilizer management, disease and pest prevention, and later income increase. You used peach roots oil to cultivate grass, which is actually a way of fertilizing. Come on, I will give you the essentials of water and fertilizer management as your teacher. Li Fan gave Lu Rang pointers. When Lu Rang got this book, he felt like he had found a treasure. The book contains more than 1,000 ways to fatten spiritual plants. He was surprised and happy. There are many ways to apply fertilizer, but farmyard fertilizer is the best. Okay. Lu Rang immediately focused on the chicken coop. Chicken manure is also a good thing. He just took the shovel and was about to shovel the manure. But next to him, the grass trembled slightly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 430. Do you think this place has been cleaned? Li Fan pointed to the spotless courtyard and said to Qing Chen. Qing Chen fell into deep thought. Master, true Buddha, what Buddhist principles are you trying to torture yourself with? How should I answer this without looking stupid? However, Li Fan had already waved his hand and said. You squat down. Lower your eyes. Li Fan's fingers gently picked up a little dust from the cracks and said. Did you see it? Sweeping the floor, never ending. Hearing this, Qing Chen looked extremely solemn. What Master means is that the Buddha's Dharma is boundless and boundless in the world. It dawned on him. Li Fan calmly took out a nest of ants from his sleeve and said. Here, my teacher will get you something fun. From today on, you will catch ants. There are 999 ants in total. When you can catch them all within a quarter of an hour, that's it. Li Fan placed a nest of ants on the ground, and the ants immediately ran around. King Chen's eyes were straightened. Catching ants? He looked at those pitch-black ants and clearly felt that any one of them could split the sky. 999 ants, if these were released, they would probably be a peerless ant army. Master, don't worry. He still gritted his teeth. In any case, he believed that Master must have a profound intention. Starting today, you can learn how to fish. Li Fan began to teach Long Xuanhuan fishing techniques. Hearing this, Long Xuanhuan was shocked. Fishing? Fishing? He gulped and glanced at the pond. When master asked me to fish before, I was already frightened by it. I was afraid that I might accidentally offend the boss in the pool. Now, you actually let yourself be arrested? My teacher asked you to fish in the early stage, so you should have some understanding of the fish's habits. Now, you can try to catch it? Li Fan opened his mouth and taught. There are many ways to catch fish, such as casting a net to catch fish, scooping fish with a water scoop, catching fish with bare hands. Well, there is also harpooning fish. One stab is accurate and one stab kills one, but this is more difficult. Long Xuanhuan's eyes were straightened when he heard this. One stab was accurate and one stab was dead? He was excited on the spot. Do you want me to show you a lesson? Bring me the harpoon. Li Fan said, teaching must be practiced and lead by example. In the pond, a group of fish stood still for an instant, not daring to move. There were only a few ripples on the water, and you could tell that the fish were shaking. But Long Xuanhuan became anxious on the spot and said, No need, master, no need. Disciple, let's start by scooping fish out of a water gourd. He was just begging. Li Fan was stunned for a moment and said, Okay, then first learn how to scoop fish with a water scoop, but these fish are relatively wild. If you are not strong enough, you can starve them for a few days to make them lose their energy before catching them. This book teaching you how to become a fishing master in 100 days is given to you. Li Fan also gave him a book. Long Xuanhuan took it respectfully, opened it and took a look, but was shocked. Dragon fighting technique. He was in a trance. Master asked me to catch fish, it turned out that he wanted me to learn such a great skill. Using real dragons as targets, hone the supreme art of life and death. He took a deep breath and first looked at the so-called water scooping fish method. Then, he fetched a wooden water ladle. Some tremblingly scooped towards the fish in the pond. Originally, his speed was very slow and it should be impossible to touch the fish. But the group of fish were extremely diligent and jumped over his water ladle one after another. Although he didn't catch any fish in the first scoop, he did observe countless traces of the avenue. The harvest is huge. Li Fan looked at Long Xuanhuan and couldn't help but nodded. Unexpectedly, these fish seemed to be quite cooperative. Not bad. Your chess skills have reached the threshold. It seems to be both offensive and defensive, but in fact, it has huge flaws. Do you know why? Li Fan turned around and went to teach Zhang Li how to play chess. Zhang Li raised his eyes and said, Disciple doesn't know. Recently, he has been in trouble. The chess diagram Xuanhuan carried evolved more. From the original 3-life chess formation, he understood the 4-life chess formation. Recently, he has been trying to crack the 5-life chess formation. But he found that no matter how his chess game changed, he seemed unable to crack it. 5 lives chess formation, life is born, earth is born, immortals are born, saints are born. Because your chess skills are still superficial and have not touched the core of offense and defense. Li Fan picked up the chess piece, landed it calmly on the chessboard carried by the turtle, and said, Come and attack me. Zhang Li nodded and immediately attacked with all his strength. Li Fan only defended and did not counter-attack at all. In just a few seconds, Zhang Li was sweating like rain. Because he found that his attack was like a headless fly, attacking with all his strength, but it was useless. Instead, the master only defended, but survived one glance after another. The dragon chess game forced him to the point where he could hardly move anymore. Disciple, lost. He spoke. You defend and the division attacks. Li Fan then spoke. Zhang Li took a deep breath and started to make moves. However, not long after, he was also nervous. Because he discovered that no matter how sophisticated his defense was, in front of his master, he was like a chicken and a dog, falling down and overturning everything. Do you understand? Li Fan put down the chess piece and said. After you understand the basic logic of chess, you must study it carefully. Study intensively on defense and intensively on offense. With your talent, you may be successful if you practice 3 years of defense and 3 years of offense. Hearing this, Zhang Li was enlightened. He has completely understood. Although the chess skills I had practiced before were not bad, they were only the basics and only scratched the surface. Didn't touch the essence. Disciple, I understand. My previous study was just to see the undulating sea surface, but I didn't know the true vastness under the sea. He spoke. Li Fan smiled and said, you can teach me. In fact, in the process of being constantly tortured by the system, Li Fan also realized a truth. Most people really only learned a lot of knowledge and subjects. They seem to know everything, but in fact they are not proficient in anything. The most important thing in learning is to keep getting closer to the laws and logic at the bottom of knowledge. Immediately afterwards, Li Fan taught Lin Zhujian the way of talismans. The way of talismans, generally speaking, can be divided into 3 realms: human talisman, heavenly talisman, and Tao talisman. Human talismans are drawn by yourself. Now you are almost at the level. Li Fan briefly talked about the talisman of heaven and the talisman of Dao. In fact, he didn't know why a ghost painting talisman could have so many things. But Lin Zhujian was extremely excited when he heard it. The talisman of heaven borrows the power of heaven and earth, the talisman of Tao follows the principles of creation. He understood that he had practiced hard so far and was only standing on the first step of the talisman. After Li Fan finished teaching, he continued to draw the talisman. You should be familiar with all the drugs in original medicine. Familiarity with the properties of the medicine and understanding of the pharmacology are the basis for being a good doctor. Once you understand medicine, you can learn to treat a disease. Treating a disease can be divided into 4 avenues: inspection, smelling, questioning, and diagnosis. Through these 4 avenues, you can gain insight into the cause of the disease, identify the condition, and then enter the stage of treatment. Li Fan explained to Subakian. Becoming a doctor involves 3 major stages: understanding medicine, understanding diseases, and being able to cure diseases. Now that Subakian has learned the original medicine, he has completed the first stage. It's time to learn to see a doctor, even though there aren't many patients in the village. Subakian was fascinated by Li Fan's teachings. It turns out that the original medicine is just the first stage. She felt the vastness of medical science. Read this book 10,000 Manifestations and 10,000 Causes of Birth, Aging, Sickness and Death carefully. If you don't understand anything, I will teach you in the future. Li Fan gave her a book. Taking the book, Subakian flipped through it. I saw that in the books, from the shallower to the deeper, from the birth, old age, illness, and death of mortals, to the age and death of immortals, to the mysteries of life of rare and exotic animals, everything is written in an eloquent way. Almost, it covers all living creatures and all diseases in the world, and the analysis is penetrating into them. Her hands trembled. At this moment, she felt that the door to medicine was truly open to her. Next to her, Gongya saw that everyone had learned something new, and there was also a warm desire in her heart. She couldn't help it, so she stepped forward with a slight trembling and said, Master, can I learn something new? I think besides making tea for you, Gongya can do something else. Her eyes are full of desire. Li Fan was startled for a moment and immediately understood, Gongya is so diligent. He immediately took out a few books and handed them to Gongya. These books may be what you need. He spoke. Gongya took it excitedly and saw the title of the book written on the cover, How to Keep a Man's Stomach. Being a good cook doesn't mean just cooking food, How to make him stop talking? It's all skills. Gongya seemed to see a bright road. Thank you, master, thank you, master. She was so excited. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Master, we are back. Wu Dade's voice sounded, and Li Fan turned around, only to see Dugu Yuking and Wu Dade pushing the door in, with the big black dog following them. And on Dugu Yuking's shoulder, stood a red bird, and he was holding a small sapling in his hand. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 431. Wu Dade and Dugu Yuking have returned. When the little red bird followed Dugu Yuking into the campus, a daze flashed in its red eyes. The little red bird subconsciously looked towards the flock of native chickens. Immediately afterwards, the little red bird suddenly became excited, fluttering its wings and chirping, as if saying hello to the turkey. Among the flock of native chickens, an old hen also raised her head and clucked a few times. Li Fan looked at Dugu Yuking. Birds, saplings, this. Junior brother, is this the rare animal you found? What a beautiful bird. Zi Ling has already spoken, her big eyes filled with curiosity. This bird seems to contain a powerful dormant fire energy. It has a slight resemblance to a phoenix. Moreover, this tree seems to be burning with invisible flames. Is this the legendary Suzaku? What kind of tree is this tree? A group of disciples were extremely surprised. Dugu Yuking said, Master, this disciple has fulfilled his mission and found a rare plant and a rare animal. The name of this bird is Hong Ai, and the tree is the tree that never burns out. When the little bird on his shoulder saw Li Fan, a trace of doubt flashed in its red eyes, and it screamed crisply and flew to Li Fan. Li Fan smiled, stretched out his hand, and the bird fell into his hand. What a warm bird! Hong Ai, well, a good name. Li Fan gently touched the little red bird, and the little red bird nuzzled Li Fan with its red beak, looking very affectionate. Well, just keep this bird. Li Fan spoke, and the red clothes flew back to Dugu Yuking's hands. Then, Li Fan looked at the tree again and said, This sapling is a little weak. It's time to use some farmyard manure. Well, Lu Rang, leave some chicken manure to support the sapling. You won't need as much grass. Lu Rang, this guy, has such a strong execution ability. He just got the essentials of water and fertilizer management and turned around and made a lot of chicken manure to fertilize the grass. There is a tendency of not giving up until all the chicken manure is used up, causing the grass to become a little wilted. When Lu Rang heard this, he glanced at the grass in his hand aggrievedly. The chicken manure at the base of the grass is still a little bit unabsorbed. He could only nod and said, I understand, master. Immediately, he stepped forward to take the eternal tree from Dugu Yuking. It was a little hot to hold, which surprised Lu Rang. He said, Junior brother Dugu, don't worry, senior brother will take good care of you. Dugu Yuking said, Thank you very much, senior brother. Master, have you learned something new from teacher sister and the others again? At this time, Wu Dade spoke with an aggrieved look. He discovered that Zi Ling, senior sister Nanfeng and the others. Another breakthrough. I missed it again, life is so bitter. Li Fan was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, Yes, I see that you have achieved some success in your studies. It's time to learn something new. Wu Dade suddenly became excited and said, Master, teach me. I need it too. Li Fan looked at Wu Dade's eager expression and couldn't help but think about it. Have you almost finished studying the Domestic Animal Raising Guide last time? I have another book here, Domestic Animal Castration, do you like it? Hearing this, the big black dog next to him immediately stood up with his ears and was stunned. Wu Dade was immediately overjoyed and said, Master, I like it, my disciple likes it so much. He knew very well that every book in the master's hands was a masterpiece. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his butt. Ah! The big black dog is talking. Wu Dade ran away from the courtyard. Everyone couldn't help laughing. And at this moment, a group of people gradually entered the outskirts of the god burial wilderness from the eastern wasteland. The leader was Xuanhuan. According to Jingyun's previous letter, the village called Muling Village was discovered around the Crow Food tribe. He muttered, "Dad, in the letter from eldest brother, it seems that that village is not a good place, and it dares to steal things from niece Manking and the others." Next to him, a middle-aged man spoke dissatisfiedly. He is Mu Jinayun's second son and Mu Jinglong's younger brother, Mu Jingshan. No matter what, we have to find it first. Mu Jinayun spoke. Soon, the troops of the Muling dynasty entered the wilderness and arrived at the Crow Food tribe according to the map. Today's Crow Food tribe has become withered and dilapidated due to the death of its elite and the decline of its sacrificial spirits. However, they quickly found out the location of Muling village and rushed there quickly. Muling village. Experts such as Mu Rantian and Munanshan were guarding nervously at this moment. Mu Wonking sat under the grapevine, eyes closed. Her aura seemed to be undergoing some kind of magical change. A faint layer of green energy and blood lingered around him. Physical evolution. For hundreds of years, no one in the village has been able to evolve to this level. Wood spirit mysterious body. There was a hint of trembling in Munanshan's words. All this is because of the divine rice given by Senior Li Wonking has only taken it for a few days, and she has already achieved such transformation. Mu Rantian Lao's eyes were a little dazed. The wood spirit mysterious physique is one of the heaven-defying physiques that once shocked the eastern wasteland. There have been only one or two cases over thousands of years. Now, is Muling village finally about to awaken one? That senior could create a genius at will, it's unimaginable. Boom! There was a roar. Under the vines, Mu Wonking's aura suddenly burst out. At this moment, endless spiritual energy from heaven and earth poured in. The old vine of the spirit sacrifice even has its branches drooping, helping her evolve. The next moment, she opened her eyes were as bright as rainbows, and her aura was extremely powerful. She rushed directly into the realm of peeping. Almost only slightly weaker than Mu Rantian and Munanshan. Wonking, you have made a breakthrough, hurry up, use your spiritual power, let us see how strong the wood spirit mysterious body is. Munanshan spoke excitedly. Mu Wonking was also a little uneasy as she used her spiritual power. In an instant, a layer of cyan light spread out outside her body. In an instant, countless plants within 100 steps were crawling towards her. It's like a salute. Wrong. Seeing this scene, Mu Rantian took a breath of air and said, This is not the wood spirit mysterious body. This is the wood spirit celestial body that is stronger than the wood spirit mysterious body. When Munanshan heard this, he was completely stunned. At least one or two of the wood spirit mysterious body appeared in the eastern wasteland. Wood spirit celestial bodies, there seemed to be only one or two in the entire history of the Great Ruins realm, and, in legends, they are all figures who have become gods. The wood spirit celestial body is second only to the mythical wood spirit divine body. It can be called a truly supreme treasure. Our Muling village shall be prosperous, prosperous. They were immediately excited beyond measure. At the same time, outside Muling village, a group of people has arrived. Huh? What's going on? Just now, there was an unspeakable divine power erupting in this village. Mu Jinayun had a look of surprise on his face. This Muling village, is there any treasure? He immediately felt happy. It would be great if he could really find some treasure here. Maybe I can report to His Majesty and no longer have to go to the depths of the wilderness to seek death. He was really afraid of De Wang. After all, not even the divine body could stop him. Mu Jingshan, on the other hand, had already led people forward and said loudly, "The guardian elder of the Muling dynasty has arrived. The natives of this village, why don't you come to see him soon?"